Hey there friends, how's it going? My name is Nature, coming at you with another video. So today let's talk about Final Fantasy 16. In 1 month, Final Fantasy 16 is going to be released to the public, which is great to see, and I'm very excited about the game. Now, today, 22nd of June 2023, since it's 1 month away, Square Enix has done a huge preview, like expose, interviews, Famitsu magazines, all of these fantastic stuff to give the game the cover that it rightfully deserves. And a lot of creators who are very important, which is not me because I didn't get to play the game, they got to play the game. Yeah, they got to play the game at London, I believe. And yeah, they got to play it, and they spoke about the different demos. People like BltzZ, Maximilian Dude, Devil's Never Cry, Final Fantasy Union, all of these amazing YouTubers got to play it. Super happy for them, and they said some great stuff about the impressions and the previews, which is great. But also, big companies such as IGN, Push Square, and other companies that are quite big, journalist-wise, actually played the game, and everything is overwhelmingly positive. It is so good, in fact, that Polygon, yes, Polygon, friends of the channel who have never accepted my friend request, actually said the best compliment of a game that could release in a year in 2023. A game in this generation of video games, this is probably the best compliment any game can receive. Final Fantasy 16 is a slick, modern epic with the soul of a PS2 game. Beneath the twin inspirations of Game of Thrones as well as God of War, this is still pure Final Fantasy. I think this is a great sum up of how positive Final Fantasy 16 is being received preview-wise. So Final Fantasy 16 is a slick, modern epic with the soul of a PS2 game. A PS2 game. Now, if you know PS2 games, it made you feel special every time you played, as well as other games. PS2 holds a very special place in my heart, especially because that was the console where I became a full... my first ever video game, Kingdom Hearts, and that made me transition to Final Fantasy, which... it's just great to see, you know, that it's getting such praise. Now, there is quite a bit of stuff that a lot of people liked, but also didn't like about the game, which I honestly think that it's just some stuff like, I believe they said you can have the game at 60 frames per second during combat, but out of combat it's 30 frames per second. But apparently, this is actually somewhat possibly not the final build of the game. So right here we see BltzZ, great YouTuber, fantastic person to cover a lot of stuff. So he said, he tweeted out, so I want to clarify a question going around. Final Fantasy 16 is for a fact 60 frames per second in performance mode in open zones. However, the build that we played for the open zone specifically was older and locked at 30 frames per second. Yoshi P himself during PAX East already showed us that zones are in fact 60 frames if you select it. Please check the video posted below. Now, of course, he posted a video down below which clarified what he meant and all of that. So I will actually leave a link to this tweet down below in the description so you guys can go check it out. In fact, I'll leave a link to his video straight to the video as well. Actually, you know what, I'll just leave it straight to the video, why not? So yeah, that is what he said about it, which is great to know, that the fact that it is seen as like, oh yeah, there's gonna be a lot of stuff, like graphically. I remember Maximilian Dude was saying the same thing about 60 frames per second, like in combat, which is where it's important, but in like exploring and stuff, it was 30 frames. So now it's good to see that it's clarified as an old build, and the new build, which is the most recent build, is going to be 60 frames. Now, what is a Final Fantasy game? The question, as a Final Fantasy fan, you get tired of hearing every time they do an interview, but actually, this is a great answer from Yoshi P, aka Papa Yoshida. So he simply said, The question was, so my final question, there'll be a lot of debate online about what makes a Final Fantasy game a Final Fantasy game. Is it the story, characters, combat system? I'm curious, what is Final Fantasy to you? And Yoshida said this: my answer is simple. You need to have the best story, you need to have the best graphics, you need to have the best battle system, you need to have a lot of content, you need to have the chocobos, you need to have the Moogles, you need to have the great music, and that makes Final Fantasy. And if it's missing even one of them, the fans will hate you forever. I mean, say what you will, he's kind of right. It's good. He actually nailed it, and you know what? That is the best answer for any Final Fantasy question of what makes a Final Fantasy game a Final Fantasy game. Now, honestly, in today's world, even though this is a single-player game, and a lot of single-player games have had this recently, day one patches, right? So day one patches is something that I think is pretty weird for Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 15, it had day one patch. I didn't have internet then. It was very weird for me to play because a lot of bugs. But actually, there's no day one patch for Final Fantasy 16. A day one patch is not planned for Final Fantasy 16 currently, so they could change this down the line. I highly doubt though, because there is 1 month left. But you never know, something could come up then. But the reason they don't want a day one patch is simply because they want anybody who bought the game to be able to play it straight out of the gate, straight out of the disc. You plug it in, you push it in the console, and then you get to play the game. You don't need to download stuff to update the game, which is great. It's very refreshing to see this, because so many games nowadays actually have a day one patch. Final Fantasy 15, like I said, has a day one patch, and I didn't have internet at the time, so it was very weird with the glitches. You had Super Saiyan God Noctis. You had a lot of weird stuff, right? And yeah, it was pretty intense and weird. But I'm happy to see that now you might not need to download a day one patch. However, let's talk about demos. Yes, a demo might possibly actually confirmed. Actually, yeah, there's a demo that's actually going to be released for Final Fantasy 16 before the game releases, and you get to play the first few hours. Yes, you heard me right, hours of the game on the PS5. And the best part about it, it carries over progress to the game, so you can download the demo, play the demo, and whatever you finish, wherever the demo finishes, I feel like it could possibly finish at the Garuda fight. Maybe it's the opening hours and then it stops at the Garuda fight. I'm not sure, right? Yeah, you get to play the demo, which doesn't have a release date, mind you. It doesn't have a release date, but it's going to come before the game, and all the progress will be carried over from the demo to the game itself, so you can like just straight out of the gate continue from where you left off. You don't have to replay the opening and stuff, which is great to see. I'm very happy that this is a thing. It's great. I think it's gonna be fun. I can't wait to actually do some gameplay of it. It'll be super fun, and I'm gonna have lots of fun with that. Yes. A lot of other things have been said about the game from different people, so I suggest you guys go check that out. Just check it out. I just covered some topics I think that were pretty interesting to me specifically. I'm sure I'm missing out on a ton of stuff. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Share with friends, because leave a like, helps me a lot. Subscribe to become a fellow Lightning Bolt, and comment down below your thoughts. And yeah guys, this is the Lightning H8. BltzZ out.